All right. What is up, everybody? My name is Nate. I'm with Structurally. We have an exciting webinar today that we're getting started finally on this beautiful spring day out of Iowa.
Yeah.
We are joined by Robbie T and LeaAnne today. Robbie, would you like to kind of kick us off?
Hey, first off, we got to celebrate the fact that we have no tech issues today. Sometimes tech is a pain. Funny part is, as well, I was just on another webinar right before this about snap offers, and we had some little tech issues. So major celebration. Other thing is we have no snow in Fargo, so life is fantastic. Hey, excited as heck to have a bunch of you join us today. We have one of the supreme ISAs, not just in real estate. LeaAnne also served as an ISA. And tell me if I'm wrong, LeaAnne, but in the car industry. So I got to hear about that. And now you've transitioned into basically being the lead ISA and overseeing your department. So love to hear about that. But LeaAnne, introduce yourself and tell us a bit about you.
Hey, so I'm LeaAnne from Johnson City, Tennessee. I have been collectively from the car dealership to real estate in this whole, phone conversion thing for 7 years now. Started out, business development. When you say 7 years, it's a long time. I mean, that's older than my kid. So, but, obviously I like it. So, started out business development, internet sales in a car dealership, very high volume car sales. I'm talking, 30, 40 cars sold a week, sometimes 300 a month. Ooh. So I was one of two, and then our department, with the help of the two that were there, slowly grew to about 6 to 8 at all times back there. I came into real estate in 2016. August 2016 was my first month. And I'll be honest with you, I started out with these high hopes thinking, hey, I'm going to go there and I'm going to crush it. I was not only my team's only ISA, I was the only ISA in our entire market. So I had no one around me. No one in our whole area knew what an ISA was supposed to do. Sure. I had these big dreams, and I sucked. I almost left the industry altogether, and the only thing that saved me was going to family reunion in Vegas in 2017. Sure.
I love it.
So since then, I've been in it. I did my first full year and went from having 3 closes from August to December in 2016 to having 74 the next following year on my own, and kind of self-trained, built all of our systems. And then the next following year worked part-time. So half the hours, half the dials, and got 101 closings. So.
I love it. Well, LeaAnne, that's a good introduction. Lots to hit on there. You got a fascinating story. If you don't mind, I'd love to go back to the car dealership ISA stuff, because
I don't want to go back there, but yeah, we can talk.
Well, we're gonna go back for a minute. What's funny is we started this ISA stuff all about being an ISA in the real estate ballgame, and I think you probably agree that the skills that we talk about and the skills that you're going to talk about, it's not just to one industry, if I had to guess. So give us some insight. You said you were doing 300 car sales in a month. What does that mean? Like, I don't understand that. Give me some insight there.
So our dealership was the #1 volume Toyota dealership in all of the East, pretty much. And we were doing 300 sales a month.
Sure.
Roughly 65 to 70% of those sales at all times were coming out of our internet sales department. Wow. So we, much like an ISA in real estate, we got the leads. Sure. The first person speed to lead on that in a matter of seconds, and then we would nurture them. Not quite as long as you nurture in real estate. I was used to instant gratification of setting an appointment today, and it goes under contract. They drive away today. That was the game changer, was coming in here and saying, I'm gonna have to talk to these people for 2 years. 2 years, back there it was 2 weeks. Or they've made a decision to move on. But when you put it together and you look at the role and you look at what's important and you look at what it takes to actually help people to their goals that they reached out to you to get help for, it's the same. And you can equate it to, restaurant industry, car sales, anywhere. It's the same concept of listening to people, coming up with a solution, and making a pathway to get them there.
Gosh, listen, create solution, create a game plan or a pathway.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay. So you did that for how long, LeaAnne? How long were you in the car sales?
4 years.
4 years. Okay. I understand why you don't want to go back.
I tried for quite a while to get out of there, if Jim's listening.
Yeah. So tell us about that. We have a little backstory, and it's really cool to hear that a lot of this stuff translates, albeit different time frames. And I think the funny thing is that most people calling internet leads have if it ain't going to close in 2 weeks, I'm not going to do anything with it.
Mm-hmm.
And frankly, that's why most people convert a pay-per-click lead at, sub 1%, if that.
Yeah.
And it's because most internet leads, especially forced registration pay-per-click, is so long-term. When we've measured it, it's been the conversion cycle is 18 to 24 months, and they're long-term, just like you said, up to 2 years. So it's kind of cool to get your perspective on that. But tell us, LeaAnne, how the heck do you get out of car sales? And how did you get into being an ISA in real estate? Give us that background.
Yeah. So it's much easier to fall in than it is to fall out. So I took the car sale job, expecting fully for it to be temporary. Went to school for public health, could not find a job, and I was like, I got to make some money. So sold my soul to the devil, as they say, and I went to the wonderful world of car sales. Now, when I started, I was an extreme introvert, and I had my previous job I had actually gotten fired from for not being able to say hello to people when they walked through the door.
Wow. I would not have guessed it at all.
Yeah. So extreme introvert, awkward, super awkward.
Sure.
So over the course of the 4 years in the car industry and, just getting beaten down every day, developed a love for talking to people, developed a love for, just human interaction and for problem solving. And about 2 years into that, a year and a half, 2 years into it, I had seen an ad for pretty much the same job, but just in real estate. And I was like, well, that sounds more long-term. That sounds like a good plan. So I actually applied to work for Jim 3 times over the course of almost 3 years. And the first time I wasn't even considered. The second time they told me that I'm not an ISA, that I'm actually an agent profile. And they offered me a job being an agent. So I gracefully declined and went back to my cubicle at the car dealership. And the third time, I like to say that he hired me out of complete desperation because he just really needed somebody. So, never give up. If you're out there, just don't give up.
Never give up. Well, it's funny because a lot of people have heard us say, even on this show, that we usually say you want somebody that's very balanced or a higher DC on the disc. And we always, I make sure to emphasize it's not a strict, you got to be this. So I can't help but think that Jim maybe heard us say that and said, I can't hire this lady. But what?
It was your fault.
You can blame me. But give me some insight, because I'm assuming if you're built like an agent, you're a higher I, right? Which means you went from being an introvert over here to now being extremely extroverted, it sounds like. Give me some insight into how you were successful in the ISA role, if it's not a supernatural fit for you. I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah. So when push came to shove, I had a reason. So I had my one thing of why I took the job in the car dealership. And that was because I found myself being a young expectant mother, and I had no health insurance and no job. So, had to do something. And so I walked into this industry and almost gave up multiple times. But luckily I had like a mentor, somebody that was helping me that
Sure.
pretty much one day grabbed the phone from me and like stuck it to my face. He was like, hey, they can't bite you on the other side of this phone.
Truth.
You know, you're going to forget the next conversation you have of what they just said to you. So it was just a lot of people that like knew my one thing, and it was me sharing my one thing with people for them to hold me accountable to that. And so now on our team, that's one thing that we do often. When we have new members come on, when we hire, everyone knows everyone's one thing. And, you know, we make people tell us the excuses that they will hide behind. You know, my excuse was just that I was scared, but it wasn't really that I was scared, because I wasn't. It's just that I was uncomfortable. And I don't want to be uncomfortable. And she knew that was my excuse that I would hide behind. And so when she saw me gearing towards that excuse, she'd push me out of it. So now when I'm around others, that's one thing I try and do for them. At the end of the day, you have to know why you're there. You have to know what even made you show up that morning, and you have to keep it in front of you at all times. And when it gets hard, you have to think, you know, if I stop this right now, who am I affecting? Whose family am I affecting? Whose goals? So it's not just about you.
LeaAnne, I was telling people before this that you were going to bring some fire, and you just became a dragon.
My screen's kind of flashing red a little bit too. You know.
I love it. I love that.
Was that a Game of Thrones reference, Robbie?
Yes, it was. We'll get to that later.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, LeaAnne, we'll get to that. Let's not ruin the surprise. But I love, first off, I got to say, huge kudos to you, because a lot of people are in those types of situations where they feel like there's a lot of resistance or there's a challenge in front of them. And my biggest fear in this world is many people shy away from it. Because if I had to guess, you went through a hell of a lot of discomfort, a lot of pain, a lot of frustration. You probably don't like rejection, yet you literally signed up for 2 jobs where when you're succeeding 2% of the time and losing 98% of the time, you're actually killing it. So major kudos to you for stepping up. And
I really like the one thing that you mentioned. I can't remember. I've been trying to think of this. Was it you guys at? Oh, I'm sorry. I got a train. Was it you guys at Hatch, Robbie, that did the trading cards of everyone on your team?
Yeah, so
an awesome opportunity to write like your one thing on the trading cards amongst your team. I think that'd be a really cool idea.
Yeah, I love it. I couldn't agree with both you, Nate, and LeaAnne, you more that you got to know your why. You're calling it one thing. We've referred to it as your why. Simon Sinek implanted that in my brain. We're saying the same thing. Because if I had to guess, LeaAnne, it's probably fair to say making the phone calls isn't what lit you on fire every single day. And you probably tolerated it. But what pushed you to pick up that phone was knowing you got bills to pay and you want to, be a great role model, a great parent, and you probably want to enjoy some, stuff in life as well. So huge kudos to you. I love it.
Could you tell us a little bit about the team that you manage now? I'm really curious to learn about how you're dealing with those ISAs. Really how you're mentoring them too.
Yeah. So I moved into being our team's director of lead gen. So with director of lead gen, I'm not only helping out ISAs, but I'm also helping out all of our sales team members. So I help in recruiting new agents. We do hybrid models. So new agents, I help in bringing them on board, training them in the scripts, the dialogues, the processes, the systems, everything like that.
Sure.
My ISA right now, I have 2 full-time ISAs who are back there right now, grinding it out. And I started last year, and I made one really bad hire. It was completely my fault that this person did not succeed. And, I carry that on my back, but I learned from it and hired more carefully the next time. And the 2 guys that I have right now, their first month with 0 experience ever, between the 2 of them, they set 55 appointments. So, but we're We're very transparent. Everything that they do is shared with the other ISA and with myself. So if one ISA sets, 5 appointments today, the other ISA is seeing that.
Sure.
And it's that little push, so we're all about transparency. That's kind of how we run things. Very system, very process, and very transparent.
If you wouldn't mind, I'd love to hear more about how you guys are making that a reality, LeaAnne. How are people seeing I've been crushing it? How have you created these systems and this transparency? Are there tools you're using? Or give us some insight there. How are you doing it?
Yeah, so I'm not a tech-friendly person. I actually don't even use apps on my smartphone. I use browser for everything, or not browser, Safari. But not tech friendly. So I use a Google Sheet, and the Google Sheet is shared amongst my ISAs, myself, and our Rainmaker. It's also shared with our Director of Operations.
Cool.
We mark, so when they set an appointment, we have a column on there of which agent it went to. We have a column of whether it was buyer or seller, what lender it went to. And then each one of those, was it converted to a MET? Was it converted to a signed? And was it converted to a closed? That way, at a glance, the ISAs don't need me to help them with lead rotation. We don't do round robin. It's based on, you earn it, you get it. And so they, at a glance, can know at all times where every agent is standing. They can know where every lender is standing. The agents, we're transparent with them as well. If they know if one of the other agents, took 7 listings this month off of appointments that we gave them and they didn't get any, it's because that other agent was crushing it. So old school Google Sheet, updated every time they set something, and we are viewing it at all times to see the breakdown of how many appointments were set this week by each ISA, what the conversion was.
I love it. Could you give a little more depth on, you said you don't do a lead rotation and you give it to the agents that are performing. How would I, as one of your ISAs, know which ISA is performing and crushing it? Give me some insight there.
So as far as, are you asking which agents, how their ISAs know which agents?
Yeah. So you had kind of said that those that are crushing it probably get more appointments than those that aren't crushing it. What does crushing it mean? Like, are you saying it's the signed ratios higher, or give me some insight there?
So for me, it's crushing it is more than conversion. It means more than just converting it. It means that they're compliant with the things we're asking of them. So if you have a team member who is skipping team training and they're skipping that opportunity to better themselves, if they're skipping our team outings, if they're running in late to team meeting, if they're not on our morning role play call, which, by the way, we use Hatch's lead generation.
The role play game. Yeah, the role play game. Yeah. Sure.
Those are incredible. Those have made our team love prospecting. But we use those every morning, and if they are not, at role play practice, then that's a notch against them. And then when it comes to, when we're teeing off a lead from an ISA to an agent, we're going to base it on who's compliant, who's trying to better themselves. You didn't get an appointment last week, you lost it. That's great. Do you know why you lost it? Did you come back and tell us why you didn't get that appointment? Are you working on that? Are you working on that objection handler? Are you looking for ways to add value so that next time you won't be caught in that? If you're not doing that, then you're going to have to go find your own next opportunity to practice on. You're not going to do it on one of ours. And then it comes down to personality. So we match people up a lot personality-wise. You can give me the best realtor in the world, and if my personality is not going to match theirs, I'm not going to work with them. So that's how our ISAs are kind of trained to give the appointment. And we tell our agents up front, life isn't fair, and neither are we. So, no round robin here.
So the ISA appointments are not something that someone is entitled to. Those opportunities that you're creating up. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Team leads are not a right. Anybody joining a team, nobody owes you leads. It's a right. And I went to a class that Seth Campbell was teaching, and he made a very profound statement. He says, what they join you for, they'll leave you for. And that's true for ISAs. That's true for agents. It's true for anybody. I mean, anybody you're entering a relationship with, whether it's a friendship, any sort of relationship, what they join you for, they will leave you for. So make sure they're joining you for the right reasons. Because if it's leads, they're going to leave you for more leads. So we want something more. But yeah, you have to earn. You have to earn team leads.
I love it.
Yeah.
Nate, go ahead. I'm writing that out. So
could you kind of tell us a little bit? I'm switching gears a little bit, but along the same vein, could you kind of tell us a little bit about that first hire you made that you said was more or less a failure? Could you tell us a little bit about how it was a failure? What did you learn from that process, and how would you do it differently?
Yeah. So when I kind of, with my Rainmaker made the decision that we were going to expand and bring more people, into this ISL realm, I immediately jumped to familiarity. I didn't want to be uncomfortable, again. So in my mind, I was like, oh, wait, I have a guy I worked with at the car dealership who I know knows how to do this type of work because I knew how to do this type of work. And he actually just lost his job. So perfect timing, perfect hire, right? So I did not take him through the full process because I was basing off the emotion, not the logic. I'm going off emotion, which is the worst thing to do. And I'm like, I know this guy can do it because he's coming from the same place I did. And so I made the mistake of bringing him on based on my emotion, setting expectations that he was never going to hit. And worst of all, I did not have the systems and the processes ready to go to bring someone in. So I was setting him up for failure and he just didn't know it. And so I brought this guy in, and my biggest thing was every time that he would do something, I would revert back to this thought of, well, I came in with no training, nobody to lead me, and I figured it out. Why can't you figure it out? Because I didn't have the systems and the processes there. And so it just ended up, he lasted 2 months, and he ended up, he wasn't a team fit. First of all, he was not a fit for our culture. I didn't know anything about bringing people on at that time. And he wasn't a culture fit. He was actually not a fit for the role at all. And I completely set him up for failure because I did not plan to succeed.
I love it. I got a question on that. You said you kind of, you didn't push them through the full process. Would you mind because then after that you hired 2 people, and I'm assuming with those 2, you went through the full process. So I'd love to kind of have you share what that full process looks like, and maybe what you skipped with the other guy.
Yeah, so I am on a team that's within Keller Williams. So we career vision everyone now.
Sure.
And I went to a career vision class to learn, how to take somebody through this process. And so before we hire anybody, we have sets of things that they have to go through. So we have different assessments that they have to complete. And then we bring them in and we go over the assessments. We dig into their motivation, what pushes them, their life story. We basically try and come up with any red flags, and we try and discuss those red flags before we bring them on. And it is a process. You don't find amazing talent most of the time that's just ready to, burn it up and start tomorrow. Most people that are amazing talent are already talented in a role somewhere else. And so, it's like a month-long process. And I took a lot of shortcuts with this guy, and I wanted him to start in the next couple of days. And I didn't set him up for that. But I did get 2 guys after that. One was actually my waiter one night at Outback Steakhouse.
Sure.
Brought him in, did the whole process. And another guy came to one of our client events. And so I hired, didn't post any ads, did it completely for people that were within the sphere and within past clients.
So you're saying the best source for new ISAs is Outback?
Waiters and bartenders are made for this type of work. Yeah. They are made for it. Yeah. If I had to hire another person tomorrow, so I'm not going to hire another person tomorrow because that's a mistake. But if I had to start recruiting for another person tomorrow, I would definitely be looking for, bartenders, service industry people. They're conditioned for this.
Yeah. Why do you think those people are a good fit? Like if I were to ask you, just give me some insight into the two guys. Why are they crushing it? And why did they, obviously, they came in and you've trained those next two really well. And it's funny how, and I posted it today in Lee's Geeks that, failure is kind of looked down upon by many people. And if anything, failures are the best things that I think can happen, as long as you use them as motivation to learn from. So what do these guys look like? Why are they crushing it? And how are they setting 55 appointments in their first month in the role? Give me some insight there.
Yeah, so they both came from completely different backgrounds. Neither one of those backgrounds ever included real estate, calling, being on the phone, anything. And so they came in. When we took them through the process, I spent a lot of time getting to know them personally. And, I needed to know them. I needed to know what made them tick, what pushed them, what they would hide behind. I needed to know all that before I brought them on. And I brought them on and they didn't know much about each other. So we never acclimated them before for them to get comfortable with each other.
Sure.
And I brought them in telling them pretty much there was only one position. They've always seen each other as competition, but at the end of the day, they see each other as a team. And if they need to push each other, so one will call the other out, they sit back to back in a room together. And, they'll call each other out. And I think that's a great culture to have. But they both had something they were fighting for. And it's two completely different things. One's fighting for advancement and one's fighting for a family. But they both have something that they're fighting for. And, I set the expectation up front that I'm not going to drag them to their goals. It's not going to happen. I'm not going to drag you there. Otherwise I'll cut the chains and, I'll go and then you stay back here. I'm not a dragger. I'm not the person that, micromanages and every day is like, hey, let's do this. Let's do this. So they want it. It comes down to the same thing that helped me to succeed. They want it. And they want it for themselves more than they want someone else to want it for them.
When I talk to people, that I always talk about how you have to be hungry and humble. And what it sounds like, and I love that you bring it up, that you had your own thing, and then these two other guys each have their own independent own thing, but they clearly know what they're pushing toward and why they're willing to make sacrifices to actually get there. And I think you're hitting on something, that you can hire the most talented people in the world. You could train really great people, but the reality is if they don't have the hunger to pick up the phone and do the work and self-start, I don't think it'd ever work. So,
yeah, if you ever want it more for somebody than they want it for themselves, you're fighting an uphill battle. Because something's going to give, and it's probably going to be you.
Yeah, true.
You're going to get exhausted trying to push this person that's just not going there. True talent, we call it bottom-up talent. True talent pushes you. So they're the ones that are constantly challenging you. They're calling out your systems, they're calling out your processes, and they're saying, I get why you said this, but this is a quicker way. This is a better way. This is more efficient. They're challenging you to be a better person every day. If you're having to do the opposite, then it's the wrong fit.
Love that. And kudos to you, LeaAnne. I read, I think it was something this morning that had said that ego is all about who is right. And truth is all about what is right. And I've seen far too many people get in the trap of, hey, we've done it this way, and because I created it that way. And if I had to guess, your two ISAs have started to do things differently than what you trained them, and frankly better, because they have different perspectives. But kudos to you for being willing to not at all have any ego or skin in the game and say, no, we do it this way because I said so. That's the kiss of death in innovation. So
yeah, we give them the freedom to do that, to make those choices and to make those improvements. And it's not, success isn't a one size fits all. Everyone has a different picture of what success is. And for me, I may say that success for them is to have, X amount of closings a year. but it may mean something completely different for them. And I feel like if I give them the opportunity every day to own the role that they're in, they're going to appreciate it so much more. They're going to see the longevity in that role, and they're going to make me better as they get better.
Ooh.
But the fail-safe is, we'll give you the freedom. If you try it the system and the process way first, because you got to start out learning the basics. You've got to learn the systems and the processes. Once you learn those, you have that flexibility and that freedom to, to do things that are more your style and more, geared towards you. But if they don't work, guess where we're going? We're going back to the basics.
Truth. I love it.
I really like Kyle's question here. I think it's a good segue kind of. LeaAnne, tell us what your why is, and when you lose, what keeps pushing you forward?
Yeah, so my why is a little complex. I'll try and keep it simple. So I was raised by a mom who spent all of her time working, and every memory that I can recollect, she was working, trying to better us. From her working, we never got to spend quality time with her. We never got to, go on vacations. We never got to do anything. And unfortunately, I lost my mom 3 years ago. And the one thing that I learned from that, you can't get memories once the opportunity to make those are gone. And so for me, my why is I'm here so that I can be more present with my child when I'm not here. And so I know that when I'm here, I'm present, so that when I'm not here, I can be present with her. And I can make memories with her, and I can change, the way that I leave her behind. I can change that completely. So for me, that's kind of a short, condensed version of, what keeps me going is knowing that I don't have to make the same, mistakes and have the same regrets that somebody else did.
That's an awesome why. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I mean, I was just going to kind of say, like, that's probably one of the most. I can see why Robbie was saying, although you didn't exactly, match the standard disc, that your why is kind of just like, it's really, really present. Is that something, I know Robbie continues to coach on hiring this type of disc. How can you ask those probing questions in an interview or through a recruiting process to really get at that why? And how do you kind of know?
Ooh.
Yeah. So my viewpoint is, if they are an amazing ISA fit, I don't have to probe them; they probe me. Because what's the number one thing you're hiring an ISA for?
Yeah.
To dig deeper, to ask the right questions, to guide the conversation. So when I'm interviewing somebody, when I'm considering somebody, if I'm having to do more of the guiding, then I know that they're probably not going to be the best fit. I want somebody that asks me that question first. Before I even ask them, I want somebody to ask me. When I say something about my daughter to somebody that I'm interviewing, I want them to stop, acknowledge the fact that I said I had a child, ask me a little bit more, and keep going. Because if I say something instrumental like that, which is a way that so many people lose the ability to connect with a client with, and they just keep going, I know they're going to do that on the phone too.
Yeah.
I want them to stop me, and I want them to ask. And I set them up into traps like that too when I'm interviewing. But you don't have to probe a good ISA fit.
Sure.
You should never have to probe. But what we do is we just like when we're on the phone and just, when we're doing our dialogues and everything like that, we just go deeper, tell me more about that. What does that look like to you? What would that mean to you? Just keep going deeper.
I love that. I know for us, one of the things that we've learned to ask is we always just start, give us your life story. And it's crazy how just asking that one can lead to finding out. It always leads to the why if you do it right. And if you're digging deeper. And I'm assuming you all do something similar where someone's why, at least on some level, before you hire them.
Yeah, and there's always the real why behind the smokescreen why.
Yes.
So my smokescreen why is my daughter. I can keep it really quick and simple and just say my daughter.
Yep.
And that's the smoke screen. That's like, the surface level, but you have to dig and you have to get below that surface level because it's so much more than my daughter.
Yep.
You'll never push me to my goals thinking that it's just my daughter. You have to get behind the emotion where my mother's tied into that to really push me. And so it's just like when you're on the phone, you have to get past surface level.
I love that. I love it.
So kind of switching gears on that though, when you're like coaching your ISAs, obviously it's kind of a recurring theme that, asking why is definitely what, we kind of believe is makes a successful ISA. I think you mentioned, you train these people up on scripts. Robbie says there's no such thing as scripts. What are you doing to train those people up to make sure that they're asking, the right amount of questions to move it forward, but also digging deeper? How are you kind of coaching them up on that, as well as what is one piece of advice that you would give to a brand new ISA?
Yeah. So kind of along what Robbie says, when my ISAs start, they get one piece of paper, and that one piece of paper is everything script-wise that we have, and it's literally a page of questions to dig deeper on things that matter, like motivation, location, price. It's not a script. It's I call it a blueprint for a conversation. So we will coach them on finding every single person's different. And so when I sit down to coach, every last person's opener and closer is going to be a little bit different because it's going to be geared towards, their personal style. The worst thing to do is to give someone a script that's going to make them sound uncomfortable. And so we gear it towards, somebody's personal style. So their opener, and then they just have to know the inside of the sandwich, where to ask those questions and then where to take it. So that's kind of when they start. That's what we do. We work a lot on their opener. We find what's comfortable for them. We go back and forth, me and the trainee a lot.
Sure.
They have role-play partners outside of this, outside of the market. And then we work on it every single day until it is natural. And they will learn the objections as they are given the objections. You can't completely train an ISA on everything they're ever going to. I've been in this 7 years and I still have not heard it all. So it's ongoing and ever changing. So
I love that. One of the things that people oftentimes say to me is when they hear the approach we're talking about, where, I even say just the best script in the book is tell me more. And I think you're saying the same thing. And there's a lot of different ways to ask that. People always say, well, don't people feel like you're invading in their life? Aren't people upset about that? Don't they get frustrated? Don't they hang up? Don't they want to hang up on you? Don't you feel intrusive doing it? So I have my perspective and my idea, but I'd love to hear, if someone were to say that to you, LeaAnne, your approach sounds like you're probing and you're putting your nose where it shouldn't be. I'd love to hear your rebuttal.
Yeah, so you just gave me your opinion, and what does everybody like to do? They like to share their opinions and their thoughts. So thanks for sharing yours. That's. But if you make them feel comfortable, if you're building rapport, if you, like I said, if somebody mentions their child or I want to be close to work, you stop and you slow down. And you quit worrying about going for the close. It's so overrated. Don't worry about going for the close. Worry about contributing. So, hey, Robbie, I know you said you wanted to be, closer to work. Where do you work? Oh, that's awesome. How long have you been there? What do you do? People love talking about themselves. It's a natural human, people love talking about themselves. And so for you to give them the stage and to shift the conversation towards who they are and not what you can do for them, that makes them so much more comfortable. But you have to build rapport as you're digging. You can't just dig in like a Ben Stein voice, you have to make them feel comfortable. You have to do it. And so if you're not going to build rapport, then don't try and dig deep.
That's great.
Make the financial questions for last.
Yeah.
I always start with motivation, because if I can get them talking about the why, then the how is so much easier.
Yeah, I oftentimes say you can know every what in the world, and it is nowhere near as powerful as one why.
Yeah.
And you're hitting on a fundamental truth, and the fundamental truth is everybody loves to talk. And I agree 100%. I love it.
What is one piece of advice that you give to a seasoned ISA? How would you coach up Robbie here if he was still an ISA?
I love it.
So somebody who's been in it for a while,
Yeah.
the biggest thing is just don't ever think that you have it figured out. Don't ever stop trying to learn. Even if if you're at the top of the totem pole, there's always someone to learn from. And that very well may be the person at the bottom of the totem pole. So never stop looking for those opportunities. You're never going to know it all, even if your mama tells you you do. So, everybody that you meet is a learning opportunity, one way or the other.
I just love even if your mama told you so. That's my favorite thing I've heard all day. So.
Yeah, mamas love telling their little boys that, that they're right. So, don't listen to your mama on this one. You'll never know it all.
Your mom is wrong.
Yeah.
I love that. So I first off can't thank you enough, LeaAnne. It is really fascinating to get your perspective through all of this. You obviously aren't just skilled at what you're doing. You're extremely skilled. And I have about 3 pages of notes. So thank you for coaching me and teaching me. I love everything you're saying. When we like to wrap these up, because we tend to be nerds as ISAs in our world, so it's kind of our joke. For a while, we always said we'd only hire someone that likes Star Wars. That's not always true, but I ended the last one asking Jim, what do you prefer, Star Wars or Game of Thrones? And I don't know if I've ever seen Jim so hyped in my life. Like, I thought he was jumping up, and he's like, boom, boom, boom. So I'm going to ask you the question. Star Wars or Game of Thrones, and why?
So, Robbie, cover your ears. I have never seen either. I've never seen a single episode of Star Wars, nor a movie. I've never seen Game of Thrones.
So everything LeaAnne just said, don't hear any of it. We can't trust her. No, just kidding.
Yeah, don't tell them either.
Anyways, so is there anything, what do you love that's nerdy? What do you love that is maybe kind of nerdy in some way, shape, or form? We'll pivot.
Well, I don't really have a ton of super nerdy tendencies when it comes to, TV preferences, things like that.
Yeah.
I won't willingly tell my TV preferences because people will hold it against me. But one of my nerdy tendencies is sometimes I get really into folding laundry. I know it sounds horrible. I get really into it, like giant piles of it. Making sure everything is done just right, mastering the retail folds, mostly Marie Kondo folds. I really see everything. And I geek out on some organization systems, like from Container Store, things like that. Closet systems, drawer organizers.
I love it. So
that's as geeky as I get.
I love it. So you're Marie Kondo. You can teach us some of those things.
I don't like to get rid of stuff. But
so you're organized, but you're not going to get rid of.
I'm not a hoarder. I'm not a hoarder, but I do need probably 80 pairs of my earrings. They all still bring me joy. So
I have never heard a hoarder say they are a hoarder. So we may have to talk later.
Yeah, maybe I need intervention.
Well, LeaAnne, again, from my perspective, this is really great. Thank you for bringing a ton of value to the people today. It's really great to have you on. We'll have to have you on again at some point. This is the beginning for these types of conversations. And again, we can't thank you enough for your time. So
absolutely. Thank you very much, LeaAnne and Robbie. We appreciate both your guys' time. As is tradition here at Structurally, though, we're not done yet. And bring out our prize specialist. She's making it around.
Are you bringing a bucket?
So what we usually do here is we have a giveaway at the end of these fun hour-long sessions. Izzy? What do we got today?
Okay, so today we have 2 people winning 50 free leads. So what that means, whoever is the winner of the free leads, you will be able to upload 50 of your old leads into our system, and Asa Homes, our artificial intelligence inside sales agent, will long-term nurture them for you. So a really good way to bring some leads back to life. And we've got 2 winners today. So the first winner of the 50 free leads is Laura Fleming.
Nice.
Way to go, Laura.
Laura Fleming, Hawaii.
Oh, that looks right. Winner 2 of the 50 free leads is Tiffany Keelander.
Ooh. Keelander.
There's a J in there.
That's sorry, Tiffany. I don't know how to spell your last
You
name.
missed the J.
Awesome. Well, we'll follow up with you guys after this.
Yeah,
All right.
you will get an email from us, and anyone who's registered will also get a copy of this webinar 2 hours from now. Rewatch it, take some notes.
Cool.
Yeah, and we'll do, it will
Awesome.
be sent to you automatically via video. We're also working to put together this episode as well as the last one in our podcast, which you can subscribe to at theisaradio.com or on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, really anywhere you listen to podcasts, you can find us at the ISA Radio. Lots of other episodes with great ISAs, just like LeaAnne, as well as Robbie T and Mr. Eric Hatch as well. Well, with that, guys, I really appreciate your time on this Tuesday. There's a train going by, which seems like my cue to leave. So we'll see you guys next time. Oh, our next episode, I should mention that, is with
Yes, please.
Robbie. It's still pending, right? On May 7th at 1 p.m.
I believe.
Okay.
I think we're good. I think we can
pretty
announce
well
it.
confirmed with Alex Vincent on May 7th at 1 p.m. Central. So that's May 7th at 1 p.m. Central. In a couple weeks here, we'll be back to talk more ISAs. With that,
Yeah.
we'll see you guys later.
Thanks again, my friends. Thanks,
Bye.
LeaAnne. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Have a great day now. Bye-bye.